Welcome to Dynamics Corner. This is Kris.
And this is Brad. This episode was recorded on January 25th, 2023. Kris, back again for another quick tips.
Man, we just go quick like this.
it seems like we're rapid firing out these quick tips, but there's a lot of tips that need to come out quickly. Therefore, we're doing another quick tip. Today was a good day because you had the opportunity to show me a little bit about how AI has made its way into Business Central, showcasing the late payment predictor as well as the sales forecast model. It was a great episode.
Yes.
Great.
Yep.
It was quick.
And it's quick. All right, let's get to it.
Let's go. Kris. You know, I look forward to these quick tip episodes because I always like to see what features and functionality are within Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. What exciting features do you have for me today?
Well, Brad, there is quite a few things that we want to cover today. Primarily, everybody talks about AI and machine learning recently, so I figured, hey, there's actually a feature within Business Central that does that.
AI will rule the world one day, if it doesn't already. Maybe it does, and we just don't know about it yet.
I'm pretty sure it's already taken over a lot of the many things. So, well, the good thing is that you can tap into that capability within Business Central. So, there's the reason I want to use this as one of our quick tips is that I did a demo recently. And I noticed this feature that was quite helpful, and it was fairly easy to set up. So in this quick tips, I'm going to show you the late payment prediction in Business Central.
Late payment prediction. What does late payment prediction do, Kris?
Well, late payment prediction is an extension in Business Central. It is an add-on that can help a business predict which customers are more likely to pay their invoices. I
don't think any
late.
customers pay late.
Okay? Of course not. They all pay on time.
That's it.
Right? So this extension actually uses machine learning algorithms to analyze a variety of data points. So there's a lot of data points that it covers for that. And I thought it'd be good to kind of showcase this tool. So the extension can be used to identify, at-risk customers and take appropriate action to mitigate the risk of late payments. For example, businesses can use the extension to proactively reach out to at-risk customers and remind them of upcoming payments. Or in some cases, you can offer them like early payment discounts, so you can encourage them to pay a timely payment, right? Another example of how this extension can be used is if a business has a customer who has a history of paying invoices late. So the late payment prediction extension would flag this customer as a high risk. The business can then take proactive steps to reach out to that customer, such as sending a reminder email or making a phone call, just to remind them of the upcoming payment and to offer an early payment discount to encourage.
And they could do the reminders from within Business Central as well.
Yes,
you mentioned so
correct.
many features
so you can,
that I just was thinking of all the quick tips that we could have. We talked in the previous episode about sales price discounts and invoice discounts. We didn't talk about payment discounts, but now with your late payment predictor AI demonstration, maybe we should.
We should. I think we can do a full circle on that. It is important to note, though, before I get into this, is that it is an extension, right? It means although Microsoft owns it, it's still considers a third-party add-on, and it requires additional setup, configuration, and to some degree require additional costs. What that means is primarily within the Azure AI because it uses Microsoft's Azure Gallery. So it's always best to consult with your Business Central expert or a Microsoft partner or your Microsoft partner to understand if this extension is the right fit to your business and how you can implement it properly. All right, so let's get started.
So we've spoken to our Microsoft Business Central expert and our partner, and we're ready to get moving with this extension. How do we use it?
Yes.
How do we set it up? I'm
How
excited
do we
for
set it
this.
up? So for me too, man. This is actually really cool. A cool tool. All right, now we're going to be in Business Central. So the first thing you're going to notice is that the sales invoices predicted overdue, it's going to be within your activity. So that really depends on your role. So if it's not in your role, you may have to personalize your menu so that you can see the sales invoices predicted overdue. Okay.
You better get some. You better get some collection calls going there, or collection reminders, because you have a couple invoices that need to be paid, or predicted to be paid.
I do, and I predicted to be paid. So I have some data in here on this environment that I have. So it's already, it was already predicted that there's 3 invoices that needs to be, it's going to predict that it's going to be late based on historical data. So typically when you log into this menu, you'll see a list of invoices that is going to predict that it's going to be late based on historical data. So I have 2 customers right now from this list, and there's a total of 3 invoices that it's going to predict it's going to be late. There are a few columns here to note with this prediction. Is the payment prediction in this case is going to be late. The prediction confidence, I mean, it's going to be very confident, it's high confidence that it's going to be late. They're not going to be paid. And so something to consider. So there's different levels as well. But before you get any of this data in place, you have to go ahead and enable this. So if you were clicking on the function menu and you, let's say for example, this empty, you click on the update payment predictions, it's going to let you know that you have to set it up or configure. And to do that, what we're going to do is click this tell more or tell me.
Tell me more.
And
Kris,
I'm going to tell me more. Yes. Tell me more, tell more, tell me more.
Are you singing to me today?
Late? Is that even a song?
I don't know, but it sounded like you were singing.
Is that a song? Tell me more, tell me more. Yeah, I think so. I think that's the song. All right, so search for the late payment. It should give you 2 options or several options. In this case, what we want is the late payment prediction. So I'm going to click this late payment prediction, and it's going to open up a separate menu. So I'm going to go ahead and expand this. All right. So notice I have my my Azure subscription. Now, typically when you first log in, that is not enabled. These are turned off, right? And this is what you'd see. And there's a few buttons here that we'll touch base very briefly. One is creating your specific model. And the other one's evaluate selected model based on your option here, right? And then you can schedule this too. So once you set this up, you can schedule this on a daily, weekly, however you want to schedule this based upon maybe your payment terms with a lot of your clients. So it really depends. And again, I mentioned earlier, there are some costs associated to this because it's using the Azure AI. So before we even could get started in turning this on, it's going to recommend that you open the Azure AI Gallery. So when you click this button here, it's going to take you to this menu, this Azure AI Gallery. In this case, it's called the Prediction Experiment for Dynamics 365 Business Central. It does give you a high-level summary, gives you a description, and of course, some examples. And it does tell you that you need to take a note of your API key and your endpoint URI. So when you are ready to move forward and enable this, you would then click the button on the right-hand side, Open in Studio. So when I click this button, it's going to pop up a menu for you, and it's going to take you to the Microsoft Machine Learning Studio. Now, as of this recording, they've updated the Machine Learning Studio. Right now, I'm using the classic menu. So you may have an updated release for that. All right. So because this has already been built, all you really have to do is run the prediction model. Okay. So as you can see, it's already built that out for me. It's going to execute R script, which is another programming language. It's used primarily for data analytics in machine learning. And
so you didn't have to change
all
anything
I have to do
here.
is click run.
You just clicked the button. It set it up for you. It gave you the URI and the API key that you need to then put into the page in Business Central.
Correct. So, if you just want the standard of what it's going to give you, you don't have to make any changes. However, you do have the capability of changing some of those models as well. So you can drill down and create your own R language modules. It uses Python as well. So if you want to extend this prediction, maybe you have the skill set to do that, you can do more. But in this case, I think it does a pretty good job. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and run this. Okay, so there's a run button here. And what it's going to do is going to enable this machine learning. It's going to run it and making sure that all the model are working and passing that test. The next step you'll need to deploy the web service. Because you're going to need the API key and you're going to need the URI, this is what, the deploying it to web service is going to give you that information. So what I'm going to do is click the deploy web service. Okay, and it's going to tell you, are you sure about that? Blah, 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 and you cannot reverse this. I'm going to say yes.
Those are always such great warnings. There's no going back.
Yeah, there's no going back. Okay, so if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're just following us on our podcast here for this quick tips, you want to make sure that you note the API key. Mine's blurred out, for obvious reasons, but you don't want to share this.
I was hoping you were going to share it because I would use your subscription and I would not have to incur additional costs.
Well, this is a test. This is a test environment, so you're probably going to be limited regardless. But so with that, you want to note your API key, and then you also want to note your request and response, your URI. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that and drill down into it. And it's going to give me my URI.
So on the web page for the machine learning API prediction experiment, you're able to enable the predictive model, then deploy it. It will give you the URI and the API key, which you can then take from the page and copy and paste into your Business Central setup on the late payment prediction setup page.
That is correct. So once you got those two informations out of this machine learning, you want to head back to your late payment prediction setup. So you're correct there, Brad. And since you are using your own Azure subscription, you want to enable that.
Yours.
And you're using mine. And then you would accept the terms and conditions, and then you would enter your API URI and your API
I don't
key.
like the fact that I can see that API key on the screen, Chris. That should be stored in isolated storage somewhere and not visible to the user because...
Yes, that is true. I did notice that too, so maybe they'll update in the future that this is going to be hidden. And so aside from that, once you enter this information, you can then enable your predictions here. Okay. So once it's enabled, you can either use the standard enable or my model. In this case, I'm just going to use my model based upon my setups here. Of course, you can make some changes here too. And then you would select the evaluate.
So the settings model that you could make is you enable the predictions, you select the model. There's a standard model that's given to you, but you have my model selected in the general section or the general fast tab. I don't like calling them fast tabs anymore because it's like a section. And then you have the model quality threshold and the model quality. What is the model quality threshold?
Yes, so we'll talk about that here briefly as soon as this one refreshes. Yep, no worries.
So you just ran a test?
So I just ran a test. I'm going to pause for a second because this Zoom is blocking my entire view. This Zoom is crazy. Okay. All right, I just had to move it because like I couldn't damn see. Okay, so I just ran evaluate selected model, and what it did for me is it's going to give me a quality of my model. It said it's 97.
So you ran the evaluation of the selected model, which was my model, and then it says on the screen, we have tested the model on your data and determined that its quality is 97. The quality indicates how well all the model, oh, excuse me, I need glasses, I believe. The quality indicates how well the model has been trained and how accurate its predictions will be. For example, 80% means you can expect correct predictions for 80 out of 100 documents. That's pretty good. You have a 97 score. So that means it will be accurate.
97 score.
Is it learning? I have so many questions on this.
Yeah, it is actually learning along the way. Again, it's, anytime that you send the data to the Azure, it does retain some of the information. And eventually, it'll continue to learn as more data is being fed.
And it's learning on your data.
It's learning on my data. Yeah, learning on the current environment that I have right now. So I can go ahead and hit OK. It's going to make this prediction. Now, to go back to what you're saying, some of these buttons. Now you can hover over it and it tells you a little bit more information on for example, the model quality threshold specifies a percentage between 0 and 1. And I'm just going to read it for those that are listening. Model quality threshold specifies the minimum model quality you require. The value is a percentage between 0 and 1 and indicates how accurate predictions will be. Typically, this field is useful when you create a custom model. If the quality of a model is below this threshold, it will not be used. So, for example, what we were looking at earlier, we were at 97, right? But my threshold was 70. So if it's below that, it's not going to use that model. So, but in this case, mine came back at 97. Okay, I haven't seen that go below that. Below 70. So so far it's been pretty accurate. Okay, a few things too on the payment predictions. Late payment indicates whether payment for the invoice is predicted to be late. The confidence that we talked about earlier, and then the confidence percent when we were at that menu. So let's go back there. And now I have this enabled. Again, you can schedule this thing if you prefer. So if I click schedule payment prediction, and so I have this scheduled here
so it
every
schedules
day,
with the job
right?
queue. So you can manage the scheduling of the updating for the late payment prediction model to your Business Central late payment invoice prediction data through the job queue.
Yes. Yep. And then I also want to point out too, there's a whole documentation of this. We'll put in the link down on the show notes and on the YouTube channel as well to learn a little bit more about that. You talked about, or you mentioned about learning, right? So there's a few data keys or data points that it needs to train and evaluate the model. In this case, the prediction model. It looks at your customer ledger entry. It looks at your posted sales invoices as well. It looks at the amount, payment terms, due date, minus posting date, and if there's any applied credit memos against it, available. Additionally, it's going to look at the total number and amount of paid invoices, the ones that were late, any outstanding invoices, the ones that are already late. So there's a lot of information that's going to look into that. It also talks about the differences between the standard model and the My model as well. So a lot of information. We'll certainly put it down into the show notes. But to kind of finish out what this does for us, if I go back into the sales invoices predicted overdue, as the job refreshes daily, it's going to go ahead and populate this this field or this table, this list. And you can also manually run this too. So for example, at the end of the day, you need to run it one more time. You click on the actions, on the action bar under functions, and update payment predictions. So I can go ahead and click this button now, and it's going to run and send run against that model. And it ran it for me, and because of my data, it still only shows that 3 invoices that it's going to predict that it's going to be late. So with this, I think it's very useful. Again, it's sort of an experiment, and it's still an add-on, and there is cost associated to this in regards to the Azure AI subscription to utilize the machine learning. But as things are going, everything is going to AI. I'm pretty sure Microsoft will continue to expand upon this.
Receive payment for your invoices in a timely manner or receive payment for your invoices, it is worth, it may be worth the cost of the service. And as you had stated, AI is helping make everybody a little more efficient. And it's a matter of using that tool to become efficient.
Definitely. And there is one more thing I do want to cover that's also a part of the quick tips. One more thing. While we're sticking with the, prediction in sales invoice predicted overdue, this one has been around for quite some time. It's the sales and inventory forecast. So while we're still in Business Central, I'm going to go navigate to sales. Sales. Navigate by going through Tell Me More. Sales inventory.
I think there was a song in Greece that had Tell Me More. And maybe you can sing it for us.
I think that's right. Oh, I don't know the lyrics, but that's a good song, by the way. So sales and inventory forecast setup. I'm going to go ahead and just click into this. You'll notice this. It's going to look very similar to the other one. It's going to require you to have an API URI and API key. And there is a button here too called Open Azure AI Gallery, similar to the one that we just saw for the late payment prediction. And this one here, it's going to link me to the page. So I'm going to go ahead and just allow the pop-up here for a second because it was blocking it for me. And it's going to take me to that experiment. In this case, this is going to be the forecasting model for Dynamics 365 Business Central, which is different from the prediction model. And so this one specifically for the forecasting model. And what this does is really taking your inventory. It's also used for your cash flow forecasting, which is another component in Business Central. You can use a prediction or a forecasting model for your, not only for your inventory levels, but also for your cash flow. So the process is very similar. You set up your API URI and API key, and you schedule the forecast. Again, that goes into your job queue. And if you take a look at from an item, so if I navigate to items, you'll see that on the right-hand side, there is a fact box for your sales and forecast. So again, it needs that data, it needs that information. So in this case, right now, my status for my forecast is variance is too high. So it has to learn and get you that information. In this case, for example, I'm using the London Swivel Chair Blue, and it's forecasting that I should have 71. But right now, because I don't have any sales against this product, it's predicting that, hey, you're still good with 71. But it's going to fluctuate. It also looks at your production orders as well. So you can expand or even extend that forecast model. So yeah, that's the quick tips. A lot of cool new features that are coming up for Business Central, and Microsoft is putting a lot of money into that.
Yes, AI is taking over the world, Kris. It's nice to see that it is making its way into Business Central as a tool to help users, better do their functions within the application with the late payment prediction model, as well as the forecasting model that you just demonstrated. I appreciate you taking the time to show me about these cool tools and everyone else listening.
Good. Again, I appreciate everyone tuning in, and hopefully you got something out of this quick tips. And thank you very much. And Brad, always good seeing you, my friend.
It's always good seeing you. Until next time. Ciao, ciao.
Until next time. Thanks, everybody.